Hello and welcome to the ROKER Report Recap Pod. I'm Brett from Milton Keynes, and with the lads not being in action this weekend, it's time to see how Sunderland have started the season, and we'll also be looking at the situation with the under-23s and the ladies teams as well, of course, playing away. Tonight's pod, I am joined by regular exile and the Michael Parkinson of the ROKER Report. It's Chris Wood in Sheffield. Chris, how you doing?
I'm not too bad, thanks, Brett.
Good, man. Do you know what? I've been thinking how to introduce you every single week you're on. And I feel like I've got to mention you in your little black book of 90s footballers.
Yeah, it's a time when I actually, before the drink kicked in and I can actually remember stuff. So yeah, it's been a pleasure to speak to someone.
Yeah, it's quite weird how we don't give you many of the 2000 ones, isn't it?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you between about, let's say, 2001 and 2010. I haven't got a clue what happened. I'll have to educate myself at some
Who was
point.
that? Kevin Phillips again? Not sure where he is.
That's what the drinks does to
It's a
you.
bit hazy. The lost decade.
And you've just heard then as well, it's the first time he's on one of my pods, but regular local and one of the members of the ROKER Report lockdown quiz. It's Ant Watson in Durham. Ant, how you doing?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Thank you very much. Cheers for having us, by the way.
No, it's great to have you on. How you doing? How you finding it up there at the moment with sort of like lockdown wise?
It's just mad. You know, we're not allowed to do anything. You're gonna go out and be home by 10. It feels like I'm like in me kind of early teens. You know, like, and your mum's like, if you're not in by 10, the door's locked. It feels like that. It's absolutely crazy, but I mean, everyone's in the same boat now, aren't they? So it's craziness.
I feel like I'm getting old because the fact that being home by 10 o'clock sounds lovely.
Yeah, I was going to say it wouldn't impact my rock and roll lifestyle, that's for sure.
Right, let's jump straight into it. So, as I say, we'll talk about the season as a whole in a short while, but obviously we'll mention yesterday's game, recording this on Wednesday evening. So, Sunderland 5, Carlisle 3. It was a strange game. We were sort of like cruising at points and then, in typical Sunderland fashion, made it hard work for ourselves. So 5 goals for us, 2 from Maguire, 1 from Hume. Charlie White proved all his doubters wrong and scored an absolute rocket from 2 yards out. And then a very, very well-deserved goal from Jack Diamond. For Carlisle, Remy Matthews hasn't really showered himself in glory, gave away a penalty and then sort of patted one in. And the third, to be fair, was a breakaway goal. I don't think he had much chance against. But at the time, it was 4-3, made us nervous. And as I said, Jack Diamond put the matter to bed. So, Chris, what was your thoughts on yesterday's game?
Well, it was about the worst 5-3 I think you'll ever see in your life, really, wasn't it? 8 goals. And I came away after the game going, I think I told my wife after the game, she went, was it a good game? I said, we won 5-3. She said, oh, sounds brilliant. I went, no, it wasn't really. And I couldn't quite explain it. It was just such a strange game. It was one of those when we went behind, I just thought, well, we're just going to get some goals and win this game. And I can't say that we kind of played them off the park. It was just they looked a level below, we looked a level above. We didn't really get out of second gear and yeah, won 5-3. Just completely bizarre game.
Yeah, it was bizarre. And I can see you nodding your head away as Chris is talking then. Were you sort of like had the same sort of feelings about it?
Yeah, it was mental. Like I wrote down in a little notebook. I was like kind of writing in, and I literally had the goals, and there was nothing else, wasn't there? It was just goal, 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 goal,
Yeah.
nothing, goal, goal, goal. It was a crazy game. Nice to win again. You know, I mean, start the season. Obviously, the League Cup we got knocked out on penalties, but we haven't lost in 90 minutes this season. So it's all about getting confidence in the young lads, and obviously we'll go on to that later on. But I thought a couple of them young lads were excellent yesterday, so it can only be good for the future, really.
Yeah, now that was one of the things I sort of wanted to sort of highlight straight away, because this is going to be one of those really strange pods where I don't know where we're going to go on the positive, negative scale of things. Because I always try and look, a little bit of a happy clapper. Let's try and do the positives first. So, Anne, what were your positives to take from yesterday's game?
Well, Jack Diamond for a start. Thought he was absolutely fantastic. You know, he doesn't look out of place in our side. You know, if you're kind of thinking if we got an injury to Maguire again, you would possibly think about putting him there now, because he can attack, he can play wing back, he can do pretty much everything. And for being just a young lad, round about this time last year, I remember him playing in the Checker Trade Trophy, and he just looked too slim, too skinny, needed to go out on loan, which he did, went to Harrogate, he's beefed up, looks a different player now, and he's going to be, I think, a big player for us this season, because the amount of games that we're going to have to play this year, and a lot are going to be coming thick and fast, aren't they? And to have someone like that, and Dan Neil for that matter, is really, really good.
Now, as you say, mentioning Jack Diamond there, he's a great advert for getting the kids out on loan. You know, there's been question marks in the past. We've had these conversations a few times. So I know me and Chris have been on the pods together about the good thing about going down was then the youngsters can start coming through. But then it's almost like, well, the youngsters we'd want to be loaning out, we're now sort of having to try and chuck them into the first team. And like I say, Hume, it's taken a little while for him to really find his feet. But Jack Diamond, as you say, yesterday looked absolutely, he didn't look out of place at all. Chris, you know, for yourself on Jack Diamond's performance yesterday, would you look at like sort of throwing him into the first team, into the starting 11?
Well, yeah, I know there's a lot of clamour to bring him in, but I think we have to remember, obviously, the opposition who we've played. Obviously, Aston Villa under-21s, who we impressed against pre-season. He impressed. They weren't kind of the best opposition in the world either in pre-season. And then last night against Carlisle, or the other night against Carlisle, so and he's, because of the opposition we've played, he's basically played as a natural right midfielder. So whereas Luke O'Nien on an average League One afternoon in his wing back role would be expected to get up and down, and he'd be put under more pressure from the opposition wingers, be pinned back almost or pushed further back into a more of a full back position. That's never happened with Jack Diamond playing out wide in the position he's played in the EFL Trophy. So I don't think Phil, especially with the way Phil Parkinson thinks and with the way Phil Parkinson has us set up, he won't have Jack Diamond playing in that position in League One, I don't think, because there's too much pressure on the defensive side of things. But what you just said there about maybe, I mean, I was thinking more of the role that Josh Scowen's played, or maybe over the last couple of weeks, in that kind of inside right role, more an advanced role. I think he could play a part there further up the pitch where he hasn't got that responsibility to get back, because actually as a youth player as well, he was actually a striker, and I think as he's kind of progressing and developing his game, he's kind of moving further back, maybe as a more of an attacking midfielder. So yeah, I think going into this further into the season, as you said, Brett, I think with the games coming thick and fast, I think we'll start seeing Diamond come off the bench, because we've had 4 league games. He's only been on the bench twice in the last 2, and he hasn't had any minutes yet. So I think we'll start seeing him come on. Again, Parkinson likes to play it safe, so we'll need to have maybe a 2-goal lead, 3-goal lead before Parkinson chucks him on. But if he starts getting some minutes off the bench and starts impressing in League One, then yeah, I think he could start eventually pushing for that first team place.
And also then, and so I agree exactly with what you're saying there. It's almost one of those frustrating things about Parkinson, and is play it safe sometimes. And sometimes it might be that even if we're actually losing, to gamble and chuck him on as opposed to the normal bring Charlie Wyke on, or just try and mix something up a little bit. Would be that may be where he gets his opportunity when we need to change things around, as opposed to when we're actually winning a game.
Well, it's pace as well. I mean, against Charlton at the weekend, what we were crying out for last 15 minutes, I would say before Flanagan got sent off, when he made those changes, I think it was around 25 minutes left or something like that, when he brought O'Brien. He brought Wyke and Greg on for O'Brien and Graham with about 25 minutes left. The game was crying out for some pace, and he brought Wyke and Greg on, who didn't really have that mobility. And it got kind of screwed up when Flanagan got sent off. But it was one of those occasions where Jack Diamond, bit of pace, bit of positivity, could have made the difference against Charlton.
Just something completely different, isn't it? It's worthwhile giving it a go. Also then, so last night then, is any other positives? Obviously, apart from us scoring sort of 5 goals, did any other players, Chris, shine out for you apart from Jack Diamond, who's really sort of took advantage of that situation of being a bit of a free game for us yesterday?
I think the obvious one's Denver Hume. He's just coming on leaps and bounds. He's just impressing more and more as it goes on. I still think, I mean, if I'm going to be ultra critical, I still think his final ball can be improved. But I think he's just getting there. He's just improving. And actually, the rate that he's improving this season, he's kind of took off from maybe the. He was, I think we were struggling at times last season, so it's maybe not quite as fair to be critical. But I think this season he's been obviously being told he's the number one choice there, and he's just cracking on with it. So yeah, he's just impressing every time he goes out on the pitch now.
Yeah, he's been excellent this season, and as I say, hopefully that final ball comes. But I think just even the runs he makes, the positions he seems to be getting in, he's an outlet continuously for us to to get the ball. There's almost a danger of us being a bit over reliant on him at times. I know that seems to be the Parkinson way of get it down the left or get it down the right, and then but at the moment it seems to be he's probably our most important player, or top 2-3 players on that team sheet. And if he was injured, I think we know there's no left back at the moment, or left wing back so far. Obviously transfer window shuts next week, but if we lost him, we'd be in serious trouble.
Definitely.
And sorry, you say
I totally agree with that. I mean, I can't speak highly enough of Denver Hume at the moment. I mean, me two worries are, obviously if he gets injured, we've got nothing there. But I've got this horrible feeling that we need to be in the top two pushing for promotion by the time January comes around, because I do think some championship sides will start looking at him, because he's kind of proven himself to be too good for League One at the minute. He's been absolutely fantastic. If he can improve his final ball within the next 2 or 3 months, he'll turn into an absolutely quality player for us. I will say that.
Well, he's becoming a modern fullback, isn't he? Because I know the defensive side of it, no modern fullbacks can defend very well.
Yeah.
You look at Alexander-Arnold at Liverpool, and I'm not saying he's anywhere near in the same league, but going forward, he's phenomenal. But going backwards, that is a bit of his weakness in his game. But that is modern fullbacks these days. There's very few
think
that
that's
can do
improving
both.
as well, though, Brett. I do think his defensive side has got better this season.
Oh yeah, sorry, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he has. Yeah, I agree with that. He has got a lot better on it.
Stronger, isn't he?
But I think that is as he's becoming more. He's filling out, become more of a man, isn't he? That is, and then, so those last 2-3 years, which sort of takes me back to my last comment, him sort of going out on not really having the loans of Jack Diamond, it would have done him the world of good.
Yeah, well, just on that, I mean, that talking about the loans and another positive from the Carlisle game, I thought I was so impressed with how comfortable Dan Neil looks on the ball. He just does, you can tell he's just got a touch. He just knows what he's doing. He doesn't look out of place. You can tell the other players are responding to him as well, because they're making runs when he's got the ball, because they kind of know that he's got that vision and he's got that ball. And he just looks like he's got a nice touch. He's got his first touch always seems to settle the ball. He's not bobbling about. He doesn't mess about with it. He just looks comfortable. And but talking about loan, young players going out on loan. I mean, the issue was against Carlisle. I mean, even though it was Carlisle as well, you could see him tiring.
Yep.
And with 15 minutes left, he was brought off for Aidan O'Brien, but he looked tired as well. And I think maybe last season, if Dan Neil had a similar move to Jack Diamond, he'd be at the same level, if not maybe a bit ahead of Jack Diamond, because he looks a cracking player.
I think as well, the state of play of our under-23s last season, it would have done him the world of good to go out on loan. And been in a lot, and I say we'll go and talk a bit more about the under-23s, been in a less sort of negative environment, and it must have been last season like that for him. But yeah, so I think, would you say he needs to be getting at least a start, like not a start, but a place on the bench for the Swindon game in a couple of weeks? And sorry,
yeah,
sorry.
It's an interesting one with him, because I do and I don't in a way, because I don't know. You could probably, I think every Sunderland fan would probably see you'd rather have him on the bench than Wyke, but I'm not sure if he's actually ready for League One yet. I would personally send him out to a top League Two side and let him, and just until January, get him 3 months of playing regular football, come back in January when we probably will need him, and then throw him in then. But I'm with Chris. I think he is an excellent footballer. I think he's very, very good, and he's probably our only midfielder who looks to play the forward pass all the time. The rest of them are going from side to side. You saw Dobson and Power doing that yesterday. he looks to go forward all the time, and he probably will be good foil for Will Grigg if Will Grigg was to get back in the side. I really don't know, to be honest. I'm in right in the middle with him. Like, I must admit.
I don't think he's there. He's just there in terms of. I mean, we're talking about Denver Hume and filling out. I mean, Denver Hume's had 2 years of first team football now in League One, and he's just now kind of becoming this brilliant player that we all thought he was going to be last year and the year before. So I still think he's got a long way to go, and obviously League One's going to be tougher than what he's used to. So and if he tied against Carlisle, in a kind of blood and thunder game in League One, then how long is he going to last?
We've got Embleton to come back as well, who's a similar player, haven't we?
Yeah.
And Embleton's probably a little bit ahead of him. I mean, the problem is Embleton is injured all the time, but a fit Embleton would be probably on the bench over Dan Neil for me, but it is what it is, isn't it?
Well, those are the positives from yesterday's game. Unfortunately, we have one. Let's look at the negatives. Well, how do I say this? Anne, you put a comment on your Twitter yesterday.
I knew it was a comment.
You weren't overly impressed with Remy Matthews. I'll let you carry on from there.
Oh, you know what? I mean, it was the quote, the tweet, Sunderland fans, Lee Camp is the worst goalkeeper we've ever seen. Remy Matthews, hold me beer. It's probably the wittiest thing I've ever put on Twitter, to be honest. Like,
it was very harsh on me because you're such a nice bloke normally.
I know exactly. Yeah, I'm normally quite nice, but yeah, I mean, his two mistakes he's made have both been against Carlisle as well, which is really quite bad on him, really. But I mean, he's not great, is he? I mean, I don't know if he's putting too much pressure on himself because he's seen Burgess kept as many clean sheets as he has without looking that solid, but he's not making any friends, really, is he? I mean, that penalty is just dreadful, and the second goal, I think he should be doing a lot better there, and he's kind of just limp-wristed it in, hasn't he? And the goalkeeper's got to have strong hands. If he's going down like that, he's going to concede a lot of goals, and that's against, no disrespect to Carlisle, but that's against the League Two side. So if Burge gets injured or anything like that, you're not going to trust Matthews to come in at all, are you?
No, he gives you very little confidence, and as you say, he didn't set the fans. I think we weren't sort of amazed by him on that very first game against Carlisle in the friendly. Really soft goal he let in. I say then the penalty yesterday, and that second goal was pathetic.
It's typical Sunderland, though, isn't it? That like in the two games he played against us last season for Bolton, he was fantastic. In the away game, I went to the away game. We drew 1-1. We couldn't get the ball. He's making some saves from nowhere. And we had to get a penalty at the end to score past him. He was absolutely fantastic. I'm thinking, he'd be quite a good backup goalkeeper. And then 2 minutes into his debut against Carlisle in pre-season, he throws one into his own net. It's kind of like, oh, dear me.
It's the weird side curse, I think.
Yeah, it must be. It must be.
Chris, yourself, I don't want to sit hammering Remy Matthews for the whole pod, but was any other negatives in yesterday's game that sort of did strike you?
I think there's one worry that stands out. He put Brandon Taylor in, and Brandon Taylor, I mean, again, a young lad. I was willing him because with maybe Flanagan being suspended, chances of injury, suspensions that are almost guaranteed to pop up this season to our defenders. I was willing him to kick on and really put in a good shift and then challenge the four kind of centre-halves, more kind of established centre-halves we've got, but he just looked off the pace. He gave the ball away in dangerous areas. He didn't look comfortable on the ball, which is a concern against a team that didn't really kind of push from the front either. They didn't put our defence under that much pressure, but even when he had some space, he didn't look comfortable on the ball. And my issue is with Taylor, he turned 21 in May. So I mean, he's not kind of a young lad. We're not talking like a 17-year-old, 18-year-old who was thrown in on his first game and all this sort of stuff. I mean, I looked at the stats, and like 2 years ago, almost to the day, he was on the bench against Carlisle in the EFL Trophy. And 2 years on, all right, he makes a starting 11, but he's still only coming out in the EFL Trophy.
He's not pushing on, is he?
No, he hasn't moved any further forward in 2 years. He's just got older. And again, that might be partly down. I'm not going to just put it all on Brandon Taylor. I think the club's policy was sending players out on loan, as we've touched on. I think it's terrible, and players like Brandon Taylor would have benefited tons from going out on loan last season, and he might have been much further forward if he had been out on loan last season. So that's a concern, because we've already got Flanagan suspended. 09, he's not a centre half, and he did a job as 09 always does.
Yeah, you can chuck him in; he'll do a job, but he's not a centre back, is he?
He's not. I mean, you could tell. I mean, all right, Matthews charged out for the penalty, but 09 actually tried to play offside when there was one of the other centre halves standing 10 yards behind him. Yeah. So he's always going to give you 100%. He's always going to look decent because he's a good player, but he's not a centre half. So if that and if we had okay, Flanagan again, he's away on international duty. Hamadley's away on international duty, but we shouldn't have needed Bailey Wright to play in the middle last night.
No, especially if his injury record as well.
Yeah, he shouldn't have been risked last night, and you can tell a lot by the fact that in a game where we were winning 5-3, Brandon Taylor was brought off with 5 minutes to go because they got a little bit concerned he might actually throw it away. So yeah, that's the one concern that. From the Carlisle game that I had. No,
take that on board as well. So with the competition itself, we've scored 12 goals in 2 games. Is it proving a healthy distraction for us? I know from the start of the season it was let's just get knocked out of it as soon as possible. But if we had a bit of a run, Chris, I'll start with you first, would you be bothered?
Well, you know what's going to happen. Gav called it. I don't know if you listened but Gav called it. We're gonna win at Wembley and nobody's going to be there.
That's exactly what's going to happen, isn't it? So no weird side curses are lifted for any of us.
Exactly.
Against Charlton.
We're gonna do the quadruple this season, and nobody's going to be there to, and we're not allowed to celebrate, and we've got to be in by 10 o'clock. Yeah, no, it's. I mean, those score lines, those goals that you've just mentioned, just a waste of time. I mean, that Aston Villa game, it was. I actually watched that, and it wasn't. I mean, we won 8-1, but part of us just thought this isn't pleasant to watch because it's men against boys, young lads who are just getting hammered. And I think there were 2 down in like 15 minutes against Fleetwood the other night.
It was in 4. There were 2-0 down in the first 4 minutes last night. Yeah,
exactly. It's just uncomfortable, and it's just. I mean, they can't even get sponsorship this season, and I think Parkinson, if he'd had the choice, he would have probably said, no, we'll just go. If they said, are you sure you want to play it? He would have said, no, let's not play it, and we'll just come out and we'll go into the international break, because it's just a chance for players to get injured, and we haven't got a very big squad.
And are you agreeing with that, or do you think it's actually quite a good opportunity to bring in the Jack Diamonds, the Dan Neils?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the only good thing to come of it, to blood these young lads. I mean, it's like what Chris says. I mean, imagine yesterday if Bailey Wright turns an ankle and's out for 3-4 weeks. Then we're behind, aren't we? And it's just it is a pointless exercise, really. I mean, the kind of unfortunate thing is we're probably going to get out the group now, because I can't see Aston Villa putting 15 past Carlisle. So
I don't know. If it's also the weekend, anything's possible. I think.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but I mean, it would be, as long as we don't get too far in it. That's my kind of stance on it. Really, it's nice to see. Obviously, Jack Diamond, who we've spoke about. Who is benefiting from it, and that's all well and good, but let's not go too far. Let's not take our eyes off what is the prize this season, that is promotion. That's not, that's what ended up happening, didn't it, a couple of years ago? We ended up getting past Newcastle under 23s, Man City under 23s, I think all of a sudden we were in the semi-finals, and we did get distracted, and it hit us hard when we lost. So, we need to just focus on getting promoted, have a good time in it, but start getting to a point where if we are getting a little bit further forward, maybe just play a reserve, like a youth team, bring the 23s in, and then just, put it on the back burner, really.
That's fair enough. So, moving away from the Carlisle game, with no game this weekend to look forward to, we'll take a bit of a look back at the season so far. We're 7 games in overall. So we started off with defeat to Hull on penalties to go out of the League Cup, which we weren't really that bothered about. Beat Villa's Kids 8-1, as we said. Drew 1-1 with Bristol Rovers. Beat Oxford 2-0. Beat Peterborough 1-0. Drew at Charlton at the weekend 0-0. and obviously the 5-3 with Carlisle yesterday. So in normal time, as was mentioned earlier, we're unbeaten. 3 clean sheets out of 4 in the league, 7 points off our supposed promotion rivals. Chris, are we happy?
Yeah, I think we've got to be. I think if we were all offered that in pre-season, I think we would have taken that, especially with the games we had coming. Unbeaten after 4. I think we would have took that. I think we would have also took. I'm not going to say the style, but of course, because we'll probably come on to that. But I think would have taken the fact that we're going into the season with an obvious plan, which is on one hand it's good to see because you can see the work they've put in on the training ground in pre-season. You can see Parkinson's drilled in exactly how he wants them to play. Every player on that pitch knows exactly what their job is, which I think is refreshing to see in one sense. But it seems like he's only done the defensive side, and I'm hoping he's still working on the attacking side because I think it's been said quite a lot, and there's a lot of pieces going around about it. It doesn't take a genius to see where we need to improve. But the problem is, if that's the plan, my feeling is that I don't think it's going to improve in an attacking sense. I think each game is going to be this kind of controlled possession where we keep it tight at the back. We don't keep a high line. There's no space in behind us. It's gonna. Some games are going to be a slog to watch, I think, on the basis of the first 4.
And are you agreeing with that?
Yeah. I mean, I will say I'm slightly gutted. I'm paying a tenner a match to watch it. Like, so it's not great, is it? But I mean, you look at the teams that we've played. We've got Oxford, Peterborough, and Charlton. You would say are going to be there or thereabouts at the end of the season, and we've made them look ordinary. Saturday especially. I mean, we played Charlton off the park in the first 45 minutes. Thought we were excellent, and we were probably only Danny Graham away from actually, winning that game if Danny Graham puts one of them chances away, which I do think in the season, I do think he will end up scoring a few goals. I think he just needs that one. But I'm actually pleasantly surprised with the resilience that we're showing. I mean, we do not look like we're going to concede. And this is despite having a shaky goalkeeper, really, because he's not particularly looked that solid. But I mean, the 3 at the back, it will be interesting against Swindon how Jamajli fits in. We're assuming Jamajli's going to play, but how he fits into that kind of back 3, because Flanagan has looked quite solid and he kind of benefits Wright and Willis playing alongside him because he just knows his role there. So it will be interesting when that is changed. But yeah, and again with Chris, we need to score more goals. We need to find a style or a striker or a striking duo or any kind of attacking line that is going to score goals, because it will end up in the season that's come that we're going to have to score 2 or 3 to win a game. We're not going to get by just winning 1-0 every week, because it's not going to happen.
Well, you've drawn me nicely on to my sort of follow-up question, because I had a feeling when I mentioned are we happy that goal scoring might come up. So as it stands, we've got, I think I've said this before, there's like this, we always play a front 3, be it 1 striker and 2 behind, or 1 behind 2 strikers. So you've got Wyke, Graham, O'Brien, Grigg, Gooch, Maguire, and then all of a sudden you can kind of add maybe Scowen into that mix. You can maybe add Dan Neil into that mix. If you really want to go a bit left field, go add Kimpioka into that mix as well. Now, would you try and just mix it up like completely differently, Chris, at the moment, or would you? How would you solve our goal scoring issues as it stands?
Well, I mean, he's been switching out the personnel because he's been rotating it week after week. But it's interesting that he's gone with the same kind of front 2 almost in the 2 away games. So against Charlton and against Oxford, he's gone for O'Brien and Graham. He's gone for kind of experience. He's gone for players who can hold the ball up, wait for others to come into play. So it's not, if we get the ball clear, it's not bouncing straight back. So he's kind of, it looks like he's got a bit of a plan home and away. I mean, he started, the home game with Greg up front, I think, wasn't it, against Bristol Rovers.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, and White looked pretty kind of terrible against Oxford, but
don't forget, he's back in the goals though now. Don't forget.
yeah, of course. Yeah, the goalkeeper rolled it out to him from a yard out, which is handy. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about the personnel, but I mean, we talked about the style before, and the way we've been playing with the ball. It's been a lot of possession-based, controlled football where the tempo is really slow, but I think it's purposely slow because I think in a lot of games under Jack Ross and to a certain extent the first period under Phil Parkinson, there was periods of games where we were running around like a headless chicken and we lost control of it or we conceded and we were chasing the game after that. And the plan doesn't work if you kind of necessarily kind of go behind and lose your head. So it's really controlled football. It's keep the ball. It's be patient as possible. Hopefully, it looks like gradually we're cutting out the long aimless balls gradually, very slowly. But you saw in that first half, as Ant said, in that first half at the Valley, that Ledbetter kind of controlled the game, and we seem to be suited to playing away a bit more, which hopefully gets a style to suit us at home to get some goals and to kind of close games out. So I'm not sure it's all about the personnel at the minute, because I think whoever you play up front, we're not going to create that much. So it's got a lot of pressure if any striker, whether it's Graham, White, Greg, whoever it is, if they're only getting 2 chances a game, that's a hell of a lot of pressure to say, well, you're going to have to put one of those away for us to get 3 points.
Yeah. Anne, are you where do you stand on the front situation?
I do think Danny Graham will come good. I think his movement against Charles, even though he never scored, his movement was fantastic. You know, he got into some positions where you've never seen Wyke. I think it was for the first chance he had when O'Brien had burst into the box. And you saw Graham straight away going in for goal, because he knew if the ball had come out or it came to him, he was going to try and put it back in the back of the net. He just looked so more alert and more of a striker than what Wyke looks like. I think with Grigg, we're just not going. We're never going to play to his style. I don't think, especially under Phil Parkinson. Like I said before, I think the only player who can play to kind of Will Grigg style is Dan Neil, who I don't think is going to be starting first team football. So yeah, it is difficult to see how it is going to change. I mean, it might just need where one of them just needs a goal to kick on, to really kick on, but. We've got to create more for them as well. It's not just the strikers' fault. It's we've got to start creating more chances for them, and not just hope that we're going to catch one on the break or we're going to get a penalty or stuff like that. We do need to be thinking a bit more, focus on a bit more attacking now. Because like Chris says, we've got the defence teed down now. Now it's time in this 2 weeks focus on attacking. Maybe try and bring an attack-minded player in on before the transfer deadline's done, and then you never know.
Just quickly, Brett, sorry to come in there, but just on the first 4 games, just a quick point on generally, one thing that I've picked up in these 4 games, that especially if 3 of them are fancied to be up there in the top 6, that the opposition so far have given us absolutely nothing to worry about. They've been, I mean, it's if that's the level we're going to play at every week, then I think we can just keep with this plan and we'll eventually finish top 2 just by slogging through games and nicking a goal. Because apart from the first 20 minutes, half an hour against Peterborough, all 4 teams have just offered nothing going forward and just haven't troubled us. And yeah, it was just that bit of pace where we had to work Peterborough out the first 20 minutes, half an hour. Apart from that, I mean, if this is the evidence on League One this season, then we've got to be up there at the end.
You can even look at Hull as well when we played in the cup.
I was literally about to say that, because that first game against Hull. I say that the cup game against Hull, because I keep a positive spin on it. We were the far better team against Hull. I say we weren't bothered losing on penalties, but no, I say that's interesting. Because I know I put the question out onto Twitter on Sunday, and what was coming back at me was quite a bit of doom and gloom about it, which made me want to sort of ask the question. And I know, Chris, we sort of asked this after the very first game, and I said, how much pressure is Phil Parkinson under? And after the first game against Bristol Rovers, it was massive pressure. Has it eased a bit on him now?
to a certain extent, he's kind of, I think he's pocketed a little bit of kind of goodwill of that start. But you know what it's like with Sunderland, yeah, and with Phil Parkinson, he's one defeat away from an absolute disaster,
Meltdown.
and you know a mauling. Yeah, yeah, and it's true. I mean, we get beat off Swindon, and I mean, you know what social media is going to be like on the Saturday night. It's going to be Parkinson out. It's going to be, and he's well, you know, I think kind of Connor's mentioned that he doesn't kind of read it, he doesn't take any notice of it, and fair play to him, just kind of crack on with it. But yeah, absolute meltdown if we get beaten the next game.
No, exactly. And for yourself, Ant, are you happy with Parkinson as it stands with the plan? Are you, for yourself, is there any pressure on him at all at the moment?
I think there's always pressure on him with being at Sunderland, isn't there? I mean, I do think he's kind of surprised me a little bit this season because, from where he was obviously last year when we went on a horrible run when he first came in, and he's obviously spent the lockdown once the players have got back at the pre-season. He's obviously got them well drilled, and this is what we're going to do, and it is benefiting because I mean you look at the start of the season that we've had against teams on paper who should be there and around us, and like as Chris says, they look ordinary. So there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of this season under him. I just think, what is he going to do when we need to score more than one goal? That's me worry with him. But as far as the start of the season goes, I mean, obviously we're only 7 games in total, as you said. We haven't lost, so you can't particularly fault him, can you?
And on the playing side of things, then, so I know we're pretty much a month into the season, really. We've given Denver Hume a lot of praise this morning, but who's player of the month? I know we're not, just into October, but who's been our sort of standout player so far this season, Chris?
For me, it's Grant Ledbetter. The fact that he came in against a backdrop of people saying, don't put Grant Ledbetter in, whatever you do. Panic stations because Grant Ledbetter was coming back in, and he stepped in and he's looked an absolute cut above anything else on the pitch at times, opposition including. And I mentioned that first 20 minutes, half an hour against Peterborough, and if you watch that back, I mean, all the kind of messages that were going around on social media, you could see everybody was panicking, thought, we could get thumped if this keeps going on like this. Dembele was picking the ball up in those pockets in between the 3 centre-halves in the midfield, in front, behind Ledbetter. And if you watch that back again, I mean, Ledbetter, the amount of experience he got, he just dropped 10 yards. And he was almost kind of standing right in front of Bailey Wright. So people weren't picking the ball up in front of him and he was coming onto the play. And just that little bit of experience, and he calmed the whole thing down because, I mean, that 20 minutes, we were just kind of panicked, I think.
That Peter McGrain, that first 20 minutes, it felt like it was going to be a very long afternoon, and that's like Dembele was going to just be causing us havoc. And then nothing.
And it was just almost pure luck that they didn't go up, take the lead in that first 20 minutes. But Grant Ledbetter stepped in, he dropped back, and then he was facing the play rather than letting Dembele pick the ball up in behind because he wasn't catching him.
Yeah.
Let's face it, not many players on the pitch would. But once he started facing them up, he could put him under pressure and give somebody time to come back and double up on him. And they didn't get a look in after that. But that's what we're going to get from Grant Ledbetter this season. He's going to see the situations and he's going to carry us through purely because he's been there and done it.
No, that's exactly. And you've literally spent the whole sort of couple of minutes then just nodding at every single thing Chris said. I take it you're agreeing with him.
Oh, he's been fantastic, hasn't he? And like what Chris has touched on there, when he came in against Oxford, and I mean, Twitter just went berserk, didn't it? Where's Scowen? Why is Scowen not playing? I think I said that Scowen must be, doing things with Phil Parkinson's wife, and you know what? It is so, and I've said this a couple of times to my friends as well. You know what it is? It's just so nice for Grant as well, because that he's Sunderland through and through. He's been there since he was knee high, you know what I mean, and you can tell that he bleeds red and white. It's just absolutely fantastic that he has come back after everything that's happened last season, and he was getting criticism every week he was playing. His legs are gone, he's no good, he's this and that. We didn't know what was going on in his personal life. We obviously knew his mother had died, bless her, but you don't. I think we kind of think because these are professional footballers that they kind of don't have mental health, and mental health's a
No,
massive thing with everything, and he had to do that for himself. He's come back this season, and he's just a class above, isn't he? He's just looked an absolute different player.
but he's like a new signing for us.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, I mean, it's probably saved the club a little bit of money as well. Not that we're going to spend it, but it's probably saved the club a little bit of kind of thinking he can come in. He's first choice now with Max Power for me, or Scowen, because he's just been absolutely fantastic. And what's probably helped him as well, I think, is that he's not got the pressure of the captaincy on him, so he can just go and play football now. I mean, in the Charlton game, once Flanagan got sent off, there was one leader on that pitch, and it was Grant Ledbetter. He was absolutely brilliant. For me personally as well, as much as I want to say Ledbetter as my player of the month, I've got to go for Bailey Wright, because I think he has been absolutely phenomenal since he started the season. He's just a colossus at the back. First game, little bit jittery, I thought, but since then he's not put a foot wrong for me. And the problem I've got is what happens when he does eventually break down, which it will happen at some point in the season. I can't see him going through 40-odd games without picking up an injury. I just think he has been absolutely tremendous. But there's been 2 or 3. There's been him, Hume, Ledbetter. I think Luke O'Nien started the season very well. Possibly, maybe Josh Scowen's done quite well. But, there's a lot of them. There's only probably the strikers where we've got a little bit of question marks over, really.
Yeah, no, we've got a really solid base actually to build upon.
Yeah, another just a quick point about Ledbetter as well. I mean, half the problem, when he came back was sometimes Jack Ross played him in a 2-man midfield in kind of in a flat 4, and he was always getting caught out. That just didn't suit his game. But this system we've got where Ledbetter's sitting in front of that back 3. And he's facing everybody, so the game's in front of him. Because I think he's not tracking back. If the game's behind him, he's not kind of chasing back all game. That's not going to be his game now. But with everything in front of him, and he can see the whole pitch. I mean, I think the system's absolutely perfect for Ledbetter.
He's like a quarterback, isn't he? Like in the American football, he's like a quarterback.
Yeah.
He just he sees everything. He's picking the ball up from deep, and then he's moving it on. He's done fantastically.
Well, it reminds us, I mean, obviously he wasn't in the same class, but it reminds us years ago when Brendan Rodgers moved Stephen Gerrard back to in front of the back 4 years ago. And that's what Ledbetter's doing. He's just using all that experience, sit in front of the back 3. He can see the game, what's going on. And yeah, he's been brilliant.
No, he has been fantastic. And it is great to see for him personally as well.
Absolutely.
One other question I did want to sort of ask then regarding the last the last 7 games was obviously there've been no fans in the ground. Now, as for Sunderland, obviously that's the home team. We've got this actually phenomenal stadium that players come to and enjoy playing in, and obviously they like playing in front of a big crowd. Playing away from home, we have a phenomenal away support. We sell out every single away game. How do you think it's affected the players for Sunderland with no fans in there this season? Chris, do you think it's a benefit or is it a hindrance? Would we be where we are? Would we be higher? Would we be lower?
I'm not sure about higher and lower, but I mean, you could take it both ways. I mean, I'm not quite sure. I mean, obviously, I'm sure the players in public will say they're missing the fans, but I'm sure there might be 1 or 2 thinking, I'm quite glad the stadium's empty.
I think the manager's thinking
that. Exactly, yeah. You can just crack on with his job and he's not hearing the reaction, especially if he's not on social media. But yeah, I mean, there was I think there was a psychologist on, I was reading something the other day and they were saying that, that home and away dynamics kind of being taken out. And they were saying it might possibly be one of the reasons why, that we had that flood of goals at the weekend, because fans put more pressure on making a mistake, and maybe without fans, players are more expressive and kind of get forward, and rather than having fans telling them to get back or
don't shoot from there. That forward.
Some players might freeze in front of a big crowd and think, oh, I can't perform today. But it seems like all these attacking players are going out and thinking, well, there's nobody to. If I lose the ball, I'm not going to get shouted at, so I'm going to kind of.
Apart from our players, obviously.
yeah, of course. I was aren't allowed past the halfway line, so they've got a problem with that. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one, and I think I don't know, maybe Parkinson's a genius. Maybe he's come up with this plan to play home and away because it doesn't matter as much, and we just play a system that's suited away from home in every single game we play. I don't know. I'm maybe giving him a lot more credit than I probably should there, but yeah, it's a real strange one. But we're getting results, so as long as that continues, be all good.
Well, where do we actually sit? I know obviously this week there's been in Parliament the petition to get 100,000 signatures to get fans back in. Now, I don't want to get too bogged down in the whole, obviously this is a worldwide pandemic going on. It's, serious health issues. But Anne, for yourself, what do you feel about getting fans back into the ground?
As much as I miss it, and I do miss it a lot. I'm happier being safe and not going. I just think it's just gonna start all these questions that if they do that the fans in and there's a spike wherever, it's the football's fault.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of just, I think we should just leave it for now. We're getting these kind of things on Twitter, on social media, saying, if you can have people in a cinema or an aeroplane, why can't they go to the football? And it's a little bit different for me because for a starter, you can socially distance in a stadium, but getting to the stadium, you're going to have to, Sunderland itself, with the stadium like being, as big as it is, with the big infrastructure car park, they're going to have to spend a fair bit of money trying to make that safe for the fans to get in and out. So that's a start anyway, and I'm happier the way it is at the moment. I wouldn't touch it at the minute, and I don't think they can make it, viable really.
Chris, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I don't want to kind of get too. Like
I don't want to get too bogged down on it, but so it's been in the news this week, so I thought I'd ask the question.
Yeah, just the kind of politics of it all and everything, but I just think. Obviously, I think everyone wants to get back to the stadium, get back in there. But I think my issue is it's just the wrong time to be asking the question. I think when the transmission rates are going up, if everything was going down and everything was settling down, then fair enough. But infection rates are up, and places are in complete lockdown. So to ask people to then congregate, and even with lower capacities, it's just the wrong time to be asking the question. I think we need to let things settle down a bit more before making that point. It just needs the government to be consistent as well, like Anne touched on. I mean, you're asking people to congregate inside cinemas and theatres, yet outdoor arenas haven't been given the go ahead, which is simply because they don't trust football fans.
No.
So if they were consistent at the time that they were reopening things, then fine. But the issue was they weren't, which is why now football's trying to catch up. But it's now the timing isn't great because the numbers,
they're all shooting up, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. So
I do think. Sorry, but I do think with that though, and it has been touched on by Charlie Methven and things like that. There needs to be something in place from the government, from football, from the EFL to help out League One and League Two clubs, because it will get to a point if fans aren't allowed in by, say, January, February, where there's a lot of clubs going to struggle. So there has to be something in place there. They've helped every other industry out, so they need to start looking at football as well. Yeah,
I mean, people are shouting at the government, yet football clubs are still spending £100 million on players, and so it's you've had defenders going for over 50 million this summer, and you've got clubs begging to stay in existence. So, as much as I'm not a fan of this government, I'd slight sympathy for them when they're saying, well, hang on, you've got a lot of money sloshing around the game and you're asking us for a handout. So I don't know.
Well, what I'll do, I'm going to put my my lid back on that can of worms I opened up
you
then,
started it.
because I think that we could literally talk about that for about an hour and still get absolutely nowhere on it.
Yeah.
But no, thanks for your opinions on that one. As I said at the beginning of the show, though, we are going to have a very quick look at the under-23s. They were in action this week and beat Newcastle's under-23s 4-0. So at least they carried on the tradition of beating the Mags. Although this actually triples our points of last season. Obviously, it was cut short, but the lads only actually got 1 point last season, so on 3 today, as of today. With those players on the fringes, though, Jack Diamond, Brandon Taylor, Dan Neil that we've mentioned, were all in the starting lineup against Carlisle. The only one that sort of possible fringes of the first team is Benji Kimpioka, who did score twice. Now, and for yourself, what were your thoughts of us sort of re-signing him? Is it a good thing? Is he really greedy and he's just taken the one deal that's been handed to him, or have we actually got a decent player on board here? What's the score with him?
Honest, when they said, "Oh, he signed a new contract," and I only saw like a headliner because I was at work, and I thought, you know what, yeah, I'm dead chuffed for that. But then I saw it was only a year, so basically he's out of contract again at the end of the season. So we're gonna have all that to come again. With him personally, you know what, I haven't seen enough of him to make a massive deal on him. You know what I mean? I know he's very, very highly rated. And he's been at the club quite a while now, and I think now he's being given this year. He's not come to play under 23 football, because he would have signed for somebody else. He's come to break into the first team. Now, what Benji does have is blistering pace, and he's got something there that none of our strikers have got. He's got blistering pace. He's like a headless chicken at times. But you look at what Dembele did for Peterborough against us. Now, Dembele didn't have any end product at all, but he frightened the shite out of us in the first 20-25 minutes. Now, for someone like Benji, who possibly can kick on now, for him to come into Sunderland and to come and give us a bit of a shot up front, it can only be good things as well. I will say as well, there's another lad who's playing left back for the under-23s, Dunn, I think it's Kieran Dunn, and he looks a good player. So
I think he scored one of the other goals.
He did, yeah. He scored the third one, and he does look a good player. But yeah, I will go back to Benji. With Benji now, it is up to him now to make Phil Parkinson play him, because he's not come to sit. He's not come to sit and play for 123 football all season. So it's up to him really.
Chris, what's your thoughts on us signing him or re-signing him, should say?
Yeah, I think. Well, I think with how long it's got on, and I've got no inside information. It's just me trying to second guess what's going on. But I think at the start of the whole saga, I think we obviously put a contract in front of him that was based on, look, you're still an academy player. You're getting a few appearances under your belt, but you're not quite ready to really push for the first team. So this offer obviously reflects that. And he's thought, well, I can probably get a better deal somewhere else. Salary caps come in, probably agent in his ear, things like that. Sunderland have, I think, from the outside, kind of played it quite well and said, well, look, we rate you quite highly. The contract's there on the table. Come back to us if you want it. And it's obviously probably not for the biggest amount of money.
Yeah.
And he's probably run out of options and thought, well, actually, yeah, let's go for it. And or he's thought of all the options available, that actually Sunderland is going to kind of kick him on, and he's got it. And I think in our position, League One salary cap, I mean, you mentioned it's a year, but I think it has to be really. I think it gives us the option to cut our losses at the end of the season and say, you haven't progressed at all, thanks but no thanks. And also, I mean, yeah, okay, it puts us at risk if he does kick on and he ends up scoring a hat-trick in every single game, and he leaves at the end of the season anyway. But if he does that and he gets us promoted, then fair play. So I'd like to think it's kind of no-lose situation, really.
I think it is. For me, it is a no-lose situation. It's another body in that we need. We haven't got the strongest of squads altogether. So, yeah, I think it's a no-lose situation, personally. And while I've got you on board, I know you're a fan of the ladies too.
I am indeed, yeah.
So, for yourself, and I'll be honest, I'm not. I keep up to date with the ladies via Twitter, so obviously I know there was a lot of. They were very hard done by end of last season. I don't know the full ins and outs of it, and they sort of started the season not great, but winning the other day against Middlesbrough. What's the score with it? If you can just sort of give a fill us in really of what's gone on with the ladies in the last sort of 5 sort of months really.
Yeah, well, basically before the last actual football match I saw live, probably Sunday League team, which isn't isn't that kind of a quality. But the last football game I saw live in person was Sunderland Ladies versus Stoke, and Sunderland ended up winning 4-2, and were top of the league by around about 5, 6, 7 points, and had a few games. They were basically 2 wins away. And what's happened is with COVID-19, they've decided not to do points per game or promote any sides, to just null and voided the season. And what that has done is meant that bigger clubs than Sunderland have come and snatched our better players. Now we've lost Charlotte Potts to Hibs, which, to be honest, I think Charlotte Potts possibly would have gone anyway had we been promoted. I'd like to think she wouldn't, but something tells us she probably would have gone anyway, because she has got, higher ambitions, and she is a very, very good footballer. We lost Molly Lambert, who was our midfield general, probably the best player I saw last season for the ladies. She was absolutely fantastic. And Bridget Galloway, who scored a lot of goals for us, and the bother is they haven't been replaced adequately enough, mainly because they couldn't, they couldn't do it. Mel Copeland, the manager, she's performed miracles at Sunderland. She's done so well with them, but she keeps on getting battered off the FA because we're just not getting any, we're not getting rub of the green. And what's happened this season is we've had to try and replace them with the best that they can, but the team hasn't gelled. The players who have come in probably aren't good enough, or certainly aren't as good as the three I mentioned, and it's just looked a little bit lacklustre. They did get a very good win, I will say, last week against Middlesbrough. They played very well. And I would advise anyone to watch Maria Ferrugia's goal. It's absolutely fun, even for men's football.
I did see that one on Twitter. It was a great goal.
And they have got the players to probably challenge, but it's just going to prove a little bit harder this year. And it's just so, considering where we were at the end of that, like before COVID hit, they have probably been, and there has been a lot of bad luck stories in football with what's happened with COVID, but they're probably up there with how unlucky that they have been, and it is a shame. But like I say, they've still got some good players. There's Niamh Heron, who's only 17-year-old. She's going to go a long way. Probably going to play at the highest level. Probably play for England. She's excellent, and there's something there. But I think it just needs a little bit more patience this year. What I will say, and this is a plea to Sunderland AFC, please, Sunderland Ladies play at Hetton, and it is a non-league. It's like a Northern League stadium. You can socially distance. You can move people about. Please let us back in. You know what I mean? I think the ladies need the fans back in more than what the men do, because the fans at the Sunderland Ladies, it's so behind the team, and it's such a different atmosphere to the men's football. Because it's just fun. It's a good day out, and I just really want us to get back in, let the fans back in. Borough are doing it, Newcastle are doing it. We're the only team in the North East who aren't. It is a massive shame, and I do think at this time the ladies do need us there. So it would be nice to get back, please, whoever's in charge.
Well, I'll tell you, even especially if they got like the fans back in there. I know we spoke briefly about into the bigger stadiums, but I think even those fans that just want to go watch a game of football, if they've never seen a ladies game before, would probably go along and watch the ladies team play just to see a team in red and white play a match.
Yeah.
So if is it the club's decision not to let fans in, or is it the council? Do you know what the score is?
I've got to be honest, I'm not 100% certain on that. But I do know that everything goes through the club. So the club are basically, Sunderland Ladies are part of Sunderland AFC. So the club will have a decision to make on it. But the bother is, and again, I don't want to go so anti Sunderland AFC, but the club hasn't helped the ladies at all. They didn't particularly challenge the league's decision to null and void the league. They just kind of put a tweet out, and it was like, "Oh, we agree. We support the decision, or we'll accept the decision." When they should have pushed for it. They should have pushed for it. They were, like I say, two games away from getting promoted. It was heartbreaking, really. And what's happened is that the spine of the team has been ripped out, and they have to start again. And it shouldn't have happened, really. But yeah, to answer your question, but I'm not 100% certain who is in charge of it. But if Middlesbrough Ladies can do it, and Newcastle Ladies can do it,
there's no excuses for us
exactly.
not doing it.
We played away at Hull a couple of weeks ago, and a few fans travelled down because we could go. So, I do think, obviously, I know it's difficult with the North East being in pretty much lockdown. It is difficult, but I do think there could be a way.
And out of a passionate plea there from yourself.
It is, yeah. It's because, like I say, I am quite passionate about some of the ladies. To be honest, I am, because I really do think that the really good side, good bunch of lasses as well. Got a great manager, and it is just a shame. You know, I feel really, really sorry for them.
No, so they did get absolutely, I say, just how that season ended last season. You know, we thought the men's team had it tough,
Yeah.
but to have your season just null and void, that must be just heartbreaking.
And they were the best team in that league by a country mile. And,
Yeah.
you know...
So they were far out. I was before this, I was looking to see how far they were. That league was sewn up.
Yeah, they took Birmingham as well, and Birmingham were a good side, ladies' side, took them all the way in a cup game, lost 1-0 right at the end, and, you know, they were absolutely fantastic. And, to see them struggling now is hard because, you know, they should be in a level higher and possibly could have attracted better players to the club. But, you know, I want to say it is what it is, but it kind of isn't because it could have been avoided so easily.
No, it should have been avoided. Yeah. I think that's what it is. No, but say, great to get your input onto that. I say, if anyone can do anything, let's hope we can get people back in watching the ladies team. But moving on from that, as always on my pod, we play a little game, and this is your first time playing it, and unfortunately, you've got all of the colossus
I know.
of playing away in Chris Wynn, who is the current leader. Of it. Very quick rundown through it as always. I've picked a game for you. You've got to pick the starting 11. If you get a sub, you get to have another go. If you end the game, if you clear all the players out, basically get 2 lives. So you get 2 points if you don't lose a life. If you lose 1 life, you get 1 point. 0 if you bomb out. And keeping in with the EFL tournament, whatever it's called now, EFL Cup this weekend, we played Stoke under-21s in our very first appearance back in 2018-2019. Already, and you look disgusted by this. So I'll always give a few little clues though, just to help out. So Jack Ross is in charge. Obviously, we got relegated in the summer. We beat Stoke. Well, we drew 0-0 with Stoke under-21s, and we won 4-2 on penalties. I'll let you have a little think, Ant, because I'll make Chris go first.
I'm over the moon with that. This is David versus Goliath, isn't it?
But as I say, we've just entered into League One. We've been relegated in the summer, unfortunately. Jack Ross is in charge. Few games in. Chris, where are we going to start?
Well, got a slight confession to make that when I was doing a bit of research of Brandon Taylor, I was looking at these games. I was looking at these games to see when he was playing. Okay.
I do know when you actually said that earlier, you said about the one of these guys that goes off. Oh, here he goes. He knows it all.
I was looking to see if he got on one, so I was looking through these. Okay, so I'll start with Reuter in goal.
Yeah, Reuter's in goal. Chris is off and running.
It's the only one I knew.
And where do you fancy going?
God, you know what? As well, I wasn't there. I wasn't at the game, so I remember.
Not many people were.
No.
Well, I can tell you there were 7,644 people there.
One of them wasn't me. Christ, Wyke.
No, he wasn't playing.
Yeah, Christ wasn't. No, Charlie Wyke. We'll go with him.
Charlie Wyke was playing. Oh. Christ wasn't, but yeah, Charlie Wyke was. Although they do call him God, don't they? Oh, Charlie Wyke.
I would say, oh God, every time he's got the ball.
I think. Oh fuck, here we go again. Chris.
Play it safe. Go Chris Maguire.
Chris Maguire's there. See, this wasn't a hard one, was it? And you're up.
I'll just name players who are still in the squad.
I'm just trying to go on penalty takers. I can't remember who even took the penalty because we did win on penalties. You said, didn't you?
Yeah, we won on penalties 4-2.
Who took penalty?
So it's Sunderland 0, Stoke 0. Well, Stoke under-21s 0.
McGeoch.
McGeoch's there. Oh, Dylan. So, Chris, you're back up so far. No one's lost a life. 2 goes each.
Denver Hume.
Denver Hume was there. He started. Straight back to Ant. I've seen this face a few times during the season.
Yeah, haven't you? You've had 6 months of me looking like this.
During these quizzes, racking your brains.
I know. Who we're going to go with now? I'm just trying to think of that squad. Who was the lad we had on loan from Watford? Sinclair. Jerome Sinclair. We'll try him.
Jerome Sinclair. He did play.
Ooh.
He came off the bench, which means you have to go again.
Oh, I have to go again?
Yeah.
Oh, Christ. Chris said Denver Hume, didn't he?
Denver Hume was there. Robin Reuter, McGeoch, Chris Maguire, Charlie Wyke.
Flanagan. Tom Flanagan.
Tom Flanagan makes his debut.
Did he?
Yeah. So, and you were up. Sorry, Chris, you're up.
I'm going to go for Kimpioka because we were talking about
Oh,
him.
good show.
He came off the bench, also making his debut. So, Chris, you go again.
Oh, in that case, Madja.
Josh Madja was there. So it goes back to Ant. I've got to thank the Stat Cat again for my getting my teams, which I use every week. Quite possibly the best ever Sunderland. It's like any information on Sunderland, go to the Stat Cat. It's absolutely phenomenal for every game we've ever played.
Especially against Stoke under 23s on a cold and dreary night. When
that game, it just says cold all over it. I bet that game was freezing cold.
I bet it was,
despite it being in September.
I think that's why I never went. I was just thinking it's going to be shite, and I was right. Drew 0-0. Ali Mozturk, he was playing on Checker Trade a lot, wasn't he?
He was there.
Yes.
Mozturk's in the team. Oh, you're flying through here, lads. You've only got 2 left. Oh, sorry, 3 left. 3 left. Chris, you're up.
Trying to think who we've still got. Going to go for Luke O'Nine.
Luke O'Nine's there. He was probably playing centre mid at the time, I imagine.
Probably.
So you've got 2 left. And now it gets a bit tricky.
Boom. We've said Maguire, haven't we? Chris Maguire's been
You've said Maguire, and you've said Maguire twice.
I've said Maguire twice. I'm going to try, because Chris has said Denver Hume, which is kind of putting us off. But we had another left back, didn't we? And I can't remember his bloody first name.
I love the fact now I'm doing these by like Skype video, and I can see people really struggling.
Yeah, you should video this one time. What's his bloody name? Is there a time limit on this?
You've pretty much had it, so I'm going to have to push you for an answer.
Is it Reece Jones or Reece James? Reece James.
Reece James from out of nowhere. Well done.
Bloody hell.
I genuinely thought that one was going to be the one that we came unstuck on.
Oh, was he right as well? Oh, that'll do.
So you've now got 1 left to get, Chris, and you both get 2 points. So they call Chris the Oracle. No one calls him that.
Well, I was thinking of a right back because we'd said Hume at left back, so I'm lost now.
So we got Reuter, Hume, James, McGeoch, Ozturk, Flanagan, Maguire, Wyke, Madja, O'Nine.
Gonna go for Lyndon Gooch.
It wasn't Gooch, I'm afraid. You've lost a life. So it does now unfortunately have to pass back to you, Ant.
Oh, good grief.
Centre
midfielder.
And I'm going to have to start rushing you.
Oh, Christ. Catamol.
No, unfortunately, Catamol's not there. So you've lost a life. Go straight back to Chris. Do you know what? I actually get a lot of people actually sending comments on my Twitter about this, how much they like playing along with these games.
This is, honestly, I'm on the edge of my seat here. This is brilliant. I love it.
You've literally, a minute ago, you could have had 2 points on the board and would have been joint second.
You know what it is, Brett, right? I think I've listened to pretty much all of these podcasts in this season, and I've been shouting names out. When it comes to you, you've got no idea.
I really am. I'm stumped for centre midfield. I'm trying to think of young lads. I'm going to go for... Blimey.
I have to rush you, Chris.
You mentioned him earlier on. I'm going to go for Embleton.
Ooh, that's got to be right.
It's not Embleton.
I think I know it now, then, since it's not Embleton. I think I've got it. I'm excited. Is it Ethan Robson?
It is.
Oh!
Oh, well played.
It is Ethan Robson, so...
Good shout.
And it's only 1 point you get because you lost a life, but
it's more points I thought I was going to get, so that'll do.
And you've beaten Chris, that not a lot of people can say. So
that's racing.
It's them drinking times, Chris, isn't it? It's them Sunday quizzes he puts on the ROKER Report thing. You know, I do play it every week.
They're really hard. They are.
I do play every week, and I do think that'll do.
So that was the Sunderland team that drew 0-0 with Stoke under 21s. So we had Reuter, Hume, James, McGeoch, Ozturk, Flanagan, Maguire, Robson, Wyke, Madja and O'Nine. And then we won 4-2 on penalties. What a great game that must have been. So that,
well
gents,
played, Ant. Well played, mate.
We are done. Chris, as always, it's an absolute pleasure having you on board.
Always a pleasure. Cheers, Brett. Thanks, Ant.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming on. Hope you enjoyed the first time with me.
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it, mate. Thank you very much. Cheers.
If you enjoyed listening, obviously subscribe to Acast, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and you're feeling really generous, go on there, give us a 5-star review. It's always appreciated. That's it. We're done. We'll speak to you soon. Take it easy.